Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and spending some of your day with me. And today, guys, I want to address something that's been coming up on social media a lot over the past 6 months on YouTube, Facebook comments, all that type of deal. And that is the sort of like the mob mentality of people accusing anglers, tournament anglers, professional anglers of being cheaters. And I want to draw the distinction between calling somebody a cheater or somebody cheating and a rule violation, because they don't have anything to do with anything. A rule violation, we'll get into this, does not mean somebody's cheating or is a cheater. And this is a very dangerous slope to go down to that is really opens a lot of people up to some liability they're not even considering. So we're going to get into that in today's episode here. Also, guys, before we get started, one quick thing I'd like to remind you guys. Here it is. We're almost into March. Spring fishing is on us. Tackle Warehouse has got their big spring fishing sale going on right now. And guys, they got 25% off on a bunch of stuff on the website. Great time to get some tackle. I'll have my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. And if you like intuitive angling and you want to do something to help the channel out and you need to buy tackle, if you can use and bookmark my Tackle Warehouse link in the description, really appreciate that. The family appreciates it. Channel gets a small percentage of a commission on anything you buy if you use my link there. So thank you very much for everybody that's been doing that. I know a lot of you guys will message me and say that, hey Randy, I just used your link to buy a rod or a reel or something. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. Okay, guys, this is, first of all, I'm not defending legitimate cheaters in any way, shape, or form. You know, they don't have any business to be in the sport here. But what we have seen a lot over the past 2 or 3 years is we've seen a rash of disqualifications across the board, especially in Bassmaster. You know, you guys have all, the Elite Series has been rampant with disqualifications. Same with FLW on every level, BFLs, Toyota Series, Bass Pro Tour. Those two organizations, we have seen more disqualifications over the past couple years than I have ever remember seeing in the entire time that I've been a professional angler. And one of the things that I want to caution everybody about, because I have been victim of this myself, and I'll explain why in the video here, is that breaking a rule in a tournament has nothing to do with cheating in a tournament. They're not the same. And here's the difference between it. When you break a rule in a tournament, most of the time, in fact, the vast majority of the time, a rule violation is a simple oversight on the part of the tournament angler. They forgot a rule, they didn't read a rule, they didn't see something, they had an oversight. It's some honest mistake. Every single person makes it. There are just countless number of anglers who have done this and been disqualified. And then, guys, there are tons of anglers that have done this and never got caught and never been disqualified. I can guarantee you, for every angler that is caught and disqualified for a rule violation, there's another 10 or 20 out there that did the same thing that didn't get caught. But the difference between that is unintentional, and there's no maliciousness behind it whatsoever. It's a simple, honest rule violation. Same in golf. If you accidentally touch your ball, you know, and move it just a fraction of an inch, you know, it's a penalty with that. And penalties vary, you know, depending upon whatever, you know, that you have there. But on the other end of the spectrum, cheating, where you have intentional, malicious cheating, is a completely different story. Cheating in its pure form is what we've seen in some of these events, where people have premeditatedly thought about a plan to try to influence the outcome of a tournament by whatever means. It could be hundreds of different ways that they figure out that they're going to cheat in the tournament. An extreme example would be that big walleye cheaters, you know, debacle a couple of years ago, where those guys stuffed lead weights down the walleyes to try to win a tournament. And we've seen other people like put fish in baskets and all that type of stuff. That's cheating. Rule violations are not cheating. And I'll give you a prime example of what happened to me here. That this same thing has happened to a lot of people before, that I have got a lot of online hate, people calling me cheaters and stuff like that, which is a bunch of bullshit. This is when I was fishing that Toyota Series tournament last year at Lake of the Ozarks, there was this friend of mine that lives on Kentucky Lake, and we've been sharing information with each other. He fished the tournament. He was a pro just like I was, and he fished the tournament. He helped me out at Kentucky Lake a little bit, shared some information with me. I was helping him out at Lake of the Ozarks. And so he'd never been to Ozarks, so I told him some areas he needed to go try to fish at Lake of the Ozarks. Make a long story short, we talked every night of the tournament. It's just like we were saying, how'd you do, you know, all that type of stuff. So anyway, I wound up making the top 10 in the tournament, and he didn't make the top 10. So we are at the final day weigh-in. We're getting ready to weigh our fish that last day. We pulled up each other boat, and he's talking to me, and I told him what I had, told him where I caught him. He said, I didn't do any good, man. He goes, congratulations, you know, good luck tomorrow in the tournament. So anyway, we had a top 10 meeting about an hour later after the tournament, and I was late to the top 10 meeting because I had a blowout on my trailer tire, and I went to get it fixed. I was late, and they said there was a rule in the meeting that you can't talk to anybody after the meeting starts that is not in the top 10, even if they're in the tournament. So, and it's in the rules. And so I completely forgot about that, and I didn't hear him mention that. So on the way home, my buddy and I, we talked, you know, that we had been talking every night, and one thing led to another, and some guy that he was rooming with heard us talk, turned us in, and I got my catch disqualified for that day for talking to somebody that wasn't in the top 10. I didn't get disqualified from the tournament. I just got my catch, the top 10 day, you know, taken away simply because of the rule violation. That is not cheating. There was nothing intentional. That was just a boneheaded oversight on my part for forgetting that rule that was in there, and the fact that we talked every night, and the fact that my buddy didn't give me anything because I'm the one that told him where to go to fish, you know. So it's like, this is what I'm talking about, that, you know, how some people get labeled as cheaters versus just a rule violation. So I just want to caution everybody, man, you got to be careful with that, because, you know, there's a lot of liability. You can't go around trying to defame people and try to, you know, accuse people of being a cheater when something's not happening with that. Yeah, call them out when they're actually doing that, when there's some maliciousness and intentional cheating going on. But the main thing about that is, like, a lot of people I have seen, they have this mob mentality. It's like, you know, jump on people when they're down. And we've seen it, like, you know, Scott Martin's a prime example, guys. We've seen how Scott Martin has been villainized, you know, for calling him a cheater, which, you know, honest rule violation, same thing. I've known Scott forever, super good guy. We've seen it with a lot of Elite Series anglers. They call them cheaters, simple rule violations. But if you're going to call somebody a cheater, you better be able to back it up, and you better be able to say it to their face, and instead of just online, you know, behind the safety of your keyboard, because, like I said, you can undermine somebody's credibility by, you know, falsely accusing somebody of something that, you know, they didn't do. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about that. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk later.